All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the What You Don't Hear podcast. This is a 15-minute Friday where myself and a returning guest sit down one more time to talk about a specific topic or a specific subject with the goal of sending you into your weekend, your upcoming week, with some positive, actionable, or thought-provoking advice and opinion, and returning again to the show for the, I don't know how many times now. You've been on, you've been a reoccurring guest.
I really hope that I'm like close to the leaderboard of most times here.
Josh Emmerich definitely holds the leaderboard.
Yeah,
He's been on tons of these.
I could never imagine defeating Josh. That's just, that's not going to happen.
Nate Winkelmes back on the show. Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me, as always. Really, really glad to be here.
Yeah, not only do I appreciate the fact that you were down to return for the first set of 15-Minute Fridays. So, folks, if you do like what Nate has to say in this one, remember, there's like 3 or 4 more. There's a handful more
a lot of them
before this. So I'm stoked you're back. And without any further ado, I'm just going to fire up the clock so then we can get this thing started and throw 15 minutes on the clock.
Let's do it.
Ready to do this? Think you remember how to do it?
We'll find out.
See if we can talk in under 15 minutes. So clock is going. Time is counting up. So the topic for this episode is the idea of the starving artist. I'm going to leave this one for a second. So I feel like the phrase starving artist has been almost overly glorified in a lot of ways. And this goes for any realm of creativity, anything, entrepreneurship, musician, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? If you're chasing a goal or a dream, you kind of heard that starving artist mentality or idea. And man, like looking at it, I feel like over the years, I personally took it really seriously. Like you're supposed to be the starving artist. No, you're supposed to hustle. You're supposed to grind. It's supposed to be really difficult because that's just how it goes. And again, maybe that's just me, but I've had the conversation with plenty of people where I kind of see that a lot of people get stuck in that starving artist mentality because you hear it so much. And it is a cliche. And I personally think it's been a little bit glorified of like you're supposed to struggle on your journey when it's like, yeah, those journeys or those struggles are naturally going to be there. There's always going to be roadblocks. There's always going to be something difficult popping up, but it's not all supposed to be super difficult. Like, does any of that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that it's definitely been overglorified. And I think that myself included, we've all gone through a phase where we've been the ones doing the overglorification, if that's a word. I don't know.
Yeah.
Overglorification, whatever the case may be. It can feel like a comfortable place to be, I think, but it's also it's kind of a place of denial too. At least I have found. So, I think for me at least, I like to think that I've gotten better at calling myself out, if you will, as I get a little bit older. And I think when I really stopped to examine the times in my life when I was maybe trying to live the quote-unquote starving artist lifestyle, what I found was I think I was really just giving myself permission to, I won't say be lazy, but I was giving myself permission to just rest a little bit more than maybe I should have. I think that what I've realized now is that there's plenty of time in a day to get the things done that you want to do. And I, at some point, would love to be full-time with my music, full disclosure. I'm not right now, still working as well. So, that's okay though. I think that what I've found is if you can't put that hustle and grit into making your passion your full-time gig, then you're not going to have the hustle and the grit to make it with your passion anyways.
Yeah, that's honestly super interesting to hear you say that, because I almost think like if we were looking at like the rest part or what you kind of phrased as
and
rest.
I hope I didn't. I'm not trying to call anybody lazy, because there's definitely. No. I know that creative people sometimes need to sit back and chill, and I'm the same way. So
and that's even why I said that was interesting, because I feel like it's almost the starving artist idea is almost just when you don't have the balance of rest and work, and you go super hard in one of the other ways. Yeah. Like for me, I know I took it to heart. I had heard the phrase. I felt like it should be real. So it was like just grind and grind, which is, again, the work is needed.
Yeah.
You have to do the work. but I wouldn't ever get that rest and relaxation. Where on the opposite end of the spectrum, though, because I've also dealt with this, like, and maybe rest isn't the right word, because that's a positive word, right? But I think it's almost like just the stopping or slowing down or just not doing enough.
Yeah.
That can also be like the bad side to also go to. Again, it's like finding that balance right in the middle where, again, you can have that starving artist idea. Again, just, you know, the phrase in your mind. And you could sit and be like, oh, well, maybe I'm not doing, like, it's almost like you were saying, you justify, like, okay, I'm not really doing anything today, or I'm not really feeling it, but that's just like, because like I have to have, you know, days off because of this, or I have to, like, that's the journey I'm on. Right. Like, I'm supposed to, like, I think what I'm trying to say is you allow yourself to feel down and you feel defeated.
Well, it's very romantic, you know, it's the plot to so many movies for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, it's a tricky thing for sure. You can, it's an easy cycle to get caught up in. And yeah, there's definitely, it's something that you have to keep yourself in check on.
You know what, actually, a good example, maybe not a good example, something that comes to mind when I think about starving artists is the movie Inside Llewyn Davis.
I don't think I know.
You've never watched that? Okay, 100% you need to watch that, because that is like so much, I guarantee you're gonna love it.
Okay.
But it's about this struggling musician who is, you know, he's trying to get gigs and all this sort of stuff, and like I almost think that's a good movie that shows a glimpse, again, like the movie glorification.
Yeah.
Even though it's an awesome movie, it's an awesome story. But you see things like that, and he's couch surfing, he's sneaking into people's apartments and sleeping on the floor, and his life is just sort of whack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just out, but it's because he loves his art so much. And I think sometimes that can be taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
Where you can sit and you can be like, oh, because I love this thing and because I'm chasing it, I'm supposed to suffer on the way there.
Yeah.
When realistically, to use the literal word starve, like, you don't have to starve on the way there. Yes, you're starving for the accomplishment. You're starving for the win. You want your music to be heard. You want the successful business. You want the art to be seen by the world.
Well, and you can starve for a moment, but the problem is the big crescendo to the in the movie that all the starving led to, you know. In reality, that's years and years and years of time condensed into an hour and 45 minutes, right? So it's, and I think that's part of why I stumbled on my words earlier, is because for me, the whole starving artist mentality, it's a kind of a personal thing, because it was a very selfish mindset for me that I had to like train myself to get out of. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't offending any people that are listening, because I'm not trying to like call people out, but for me, I had to call myself out and be like, look, man, this is kind of dumb. This is dumb. You're not doing what's best for yourself and for your own health, both mental and physical. So that it hits kind of closer to home for me for that reason. And it has to do a lot with anxiety and depression, and, you know, not overcoming, but learning and facing some of those things in tandem with what we're talking about right now. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, for me personally, may not be this way for everybody, but at the end of the day for me, it was very much just giving myself a little kick in the ass and saying, look, man, like, you can do both. You're a smart person. It's okay to work the day job and make decent money and support yourself and be happy and be stable. So I think that the reason I'm defending my own thesis so much right now is, even now, there's that voice in your head that says, no, that's just selling out, or not selling out, but no, that's just giving up on what you really want to do. But that's the voice that will lead you into that constant cycle of pain and suffering, and that's what you have to watch out for.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in a very similar place before, and that is, again, that's why I'm so that's why I wanted to talk about the topic.
Yeah, I did too.
Of like, hey, like let's touch on this a little bit, because I almost think it, in a way, the phrase almost justifies the hard parts, and sometimes makes you comfortable with maybe not trying to solve the problems, because it's like you self-defeat and you almost tell yourself, no, I deserve this because I'm trying to, and it's like, you don't deserve bad things just because you're trying to live, maybe I'll just say, like an unconventional lifestyle or something. Just because you want to be a freelancer or a creative of any sort, like, that doesn't mean you're supposed to suffer.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is what I found in so many conversations with people when this topic or idea, or even just it's kind of alluded to, that they like, you kind of get stuck in that cycle.
It's easy for me to be addicted to that. So
Yeah,
I
right.
very, very much, the romanticism of that is
That's the word I've kind of,
it's what makes me love music and writing music too. But it also can be your own worst enemy, you know? So yeah, it's hard to get yourself out of a place if you're maybe, you know, wallowing in some of that superficial nonsense, really, because not to derail too much from your original topic, but the thing that I've found anyways is that I hate to use the romantic comedy movie analogy again, but the thing that you're missing in that plot line is all of the work in between that you didn't get to see. That's really what's supposed to be enjoyable, you know? Mm-hmm. So you become addicted to having these high and low moments of clarity and you know, getting to the highlight of your movie, so to speak, or the, you know, the ending, that you forget that, in my case as a musician, really what I'm supposed to be doing is sitting in my studio and writing songs and thinking about, man, like, I'm writing a song and that's like pretty awesome that I get to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, to tie that back in to what you're saying, it goes hand in hand, that bit of ego and that bit of narcissism that pulls you away from the good and draws you into kind of that negative cycle. That's, I think, a lot of that is rooted in what you're saying.
Now, as we hit our last handful of minutes here, I want to ask you this, because again, I know what it looked like for me when I was kind of being caught up in the idea of being a starving artist.
Yeah.
And it was like years ago when I like legit just like no money in the bank account ever. Any payment that came in went directly to something. And it was just this never-ending struggle. But for me, I would in a way almost self-deprecate or tell myself, again, kind of like I said earlier, like I would tell myself that I deserved this.
Yeah.
That like even though I knew I deserved the wins, I would still tell myself, you know, it's like the classic case, like you chose this path. And to be honest, there's truth to that, right?
Is,
You have to welcome those challenges.
You do.
But at that point in time, I wasn't in the right frame of mind or didn't have the proper mindset to identify like, what are the challenges? What can I do to offer solutions to my problems, and how can I grow? So for me, it was sort of that inner battle where I was just telling myself, I was justifying literally starving with that phrase, starving artist, of this is what I'm supposed to be doing. What was it for you? What were some of the identifying factors where you finally were like, hey, okay, maybe I'm not too balanced with this. Like maybe I am playing into that realm of things a little bit too much. And then what did you do to kind of like try and gain control of those?
I mean, I think I was just really sad, and I finally realized it. You know, I was like, yeah, something's just not right. You know, I'm not actually doing, not what I should be doing, but I'm not actually doing the things that I know that I could be doing. You know, because I was so focused on fitting some type of form, you know, or appearing in some way to the outside world, and in turn to myself, you know, because the entire image that I think that I was aspiring to at the time, I don't think really existed, which I'm sure is the case for people who have been in that same exact situation. I'm sure they felt that same way, but sorry, restate the original question there again.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, what were the identifiers for you?
Oh,
when
yeah.
you realized you were kind of like stuck in this, like, I don't know if I'm growing, I don't know if I'm, and then kind of what you did to get out of that.
So, like I said, got sad, and then I was like, man, this sucks. And I think that it just led me to become kind of, I won't say self-fulfilling prophecy, but again, to tie back into our romantic comedy. We're going to have to write this script, by the way.
I'm in.
Sounds great. To tie back into that, you know, it just, I think that I finally caught myself being addicted to that kind of that sadness and just that, like, man, I'm really just I keep putting myself back in this cycle because there's some sense, or there's something inside of me that's saying, you know, like you said, I deserve to have to go through this. That, you know, I don't know exactly what that means. I'm sure that there's a therapist out there that I could give a lot of money to tell me.
Right.
So maybe we'll figure it out on our own before then. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll invite them to the show.
Yeah, maybe
that would be great.
A future 50
There
Minute
you
Friday just with a therapist where it's just like, all right, I have this question and that question, and the topic is, can you help?
Yeah, but needless to say, I think that was the biggest eye opener for me was when I finally was just able to kind of be honest with myself and be like, okay, what you're doing is just silly and childish. And again, full disclaimer, that's definitely not everybody's experience. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have stuck out extremely hard times and made it work and are in an amazing place now, and hats off to those people. I think I was glorifying those types of people, and I was focusing on all the wrong parts of those types of stories in hopes that I would become that. Yeah. So that, I think, is the moral of the story for me.
Yeah, and that's I can realistically back that where it's like, again, it's so much, and there's so many different topics strung throughout this one topic, but it's the comparison game, it's the self-deprecation, it's the inner battle, it's all that sort of stuff of just identifying and understanding that your path, your journey might not look this exact same as everybody else's. So you cannot compare those. Of course, don't compare your everyday to other people's highlight reels on social media and all that sort of stuff, because that's another thing where you're like, no, I got to grind harder. And realistically, just not getting caught up in that hustle and grind culture. For me, to wrap it up, because we've hit 15 minutes, is the biggest thing for me, and the biggest thing that I would always implore somebody to do is just figure out what that balance is. Understand that you don't need to sit and be like, no, I'm hustling, I'm grinding, I can't ever sleep, I can't ever eat, blah, blah, blah. Been there, right? It's okay that I'm not making any money because I'm supposed to, somebody on social media said, if I'm not dying, I'm not trying.
Exactly.
No, that's a good one. That does not have to.
You almost tricked me back into believing it. It was so good.
Right? If I'm not dying, I'm not trying, right? But you hear that and you're like, no, they're right. I'm supposed to. And it's just because it might have worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to figure out how your journey looks, what your path looks like on that way, and just not getting caught up in the entire game of it. That's the biggest thing.
Couldn't agree more.
We've hit our 15 minutes.
We did it.
That is another, dude, these things go so...
They do. They go too fast.
Quickly.
Too fast.
So quickly. So, if anybody wants to find you on the internet, or maybe any of your music, or talk to you about The Starving Artist, or they want to remind you that, hey, you should watch the movie Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah.
Where can they find you on the internet?
At Nathan Winkelmes. It'll be in the description. If you want to remind me to watch the movie that Ross has mentioned, I already forgot the name of it, so please message me. My DMs are open. At Nathan Winkelmes. You can find my music there too, and my cat and my dog.
Perfect. Dude, thank you so much for doing another one of these.